Hello and welcome to India Business Hour. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening.
I think people should be prepared for higher oil and gas prices, higher rates, as a matter of just being prepared.
JPMorgan's Jamie Dimon expects another rate hike from the US Fed, but also cautions against keeping rates higher for longer, identifies geopolitics as the #1 risk facing the global economy. That's a CNBC-TV18 exclusive.
India and America are natural partners. Now you have to be, you're here, so you're between Russia and China, you have to be kind of non-aligned, but we're your best friend.
India and America are natural partners, and the US is India's best friend, says Dimon. Adds the inclusion of Indian bonds in the EM index will lead to an estimated $25 billion in inflows. Dimon says the optimism about India is completely justified. The real money gaming industry is staring at a tax bill of about 1 lakh crore rupees. Dream 11 moves the Bombay High Court against an 18,000 crore rupee tax demand for not paying 28% GST on the face value of the bets collected.
Market share is not the objective. It is running a good business that is serving customer needs. That's the objective.
Just over a year after taking charge, Air India CEO Campbell Wilson is upbeat on the transformation, even as he admits that the airline has a long way to go. Says the first refurbished aircraft will be ready to fly in less than a year. That's a CNBC-TV18 exclusive.
Vistara is a great airline. It's obviously beloved by customers as well. It will continue to operate as Vistara, continue to operate in the way it operates.
Campbell Wilson says there's no hurry to consolidate Air India and Vistara brands, says Vistara will continue to operate the way it does until Air India is brought up to its level. ITC Chairman Sanjiv Puri says the worst of inflation is over, sees green shoots in rural demand, targets an expansion of FMCG margins by 80 to 100 basis points annually over the next few years. That's another exclusive tonight. Online trading platform Zerodha reports a 39% jump in profit and revenue in FY23, profits near 3,000 crore rupees. Niti Aayog moves to bring experts to evaluate the food and LPG subsidies. The review is aimed at studying the effectiveness of the subsidy and suggests ways to rationalize costs. The US State Department spokesperson says they are deeply concerned about allegations made by Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, also adding that the US has publicly and privately urged the Indian government to cooperate with the investigation in Canada over the killing of a Sikh separatist. Security beefed up in Bengaluru as farmer organizations and pro-Kannada outfits stage a protest over the Kaveri water dispute with Tamil Nadu. Schools and colleges shut for today. Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah accuses the BJP and opposition parties of politicizing the issue. After a gap of 41 years, India's equestrian team clinches gold at the Asian Games. This is India's third gold medal so far. As always, let's start with the market action. A quiet day on the Lal Street, so we saw the markets trading in a range-bound session today, absolutely flat. So the sensex ending about 78 points lower, while the nifty ended just about in the red as well. Autos were in top gear, with that index gaining 0.25%, so that was up in the green, but everything else pretty much in the red. The broader markets did underperform the blue chips today, so a quiet session there as far as the Lal Street is concerned. But on to the big newsmaker of the day. JPMorgan CEO Jamie Dimon says that optimism around India, in his words, completely justified. In a conversation with me on the sidelines of the JPMorgan India Investment Summit, Dimon said that the inclusion of Indian government bonds in the emerging market index may enable an additional inflow of $25 billion. Speaking about Indo-American ties, Dimon said that the two nations are natural partners. He added that America should negotiate better trade and investment deals with India. Also alluding to the Russia-Ukraine war, Dimon highlighted that the current geopolitical situation is the #1 risk as far as he's concerned. I also asked him about his outlook for the US economy. Dimon says he expects another rate hike from the Fed. He, however, cautioned against keeping rates higher for longer. Take a look. Let's talk about what's happening as far as the US is concerned. I was having a conversation with Larry Summers over the weekend, and he says, look, he doesn't believe that higher for longer is necessarily going to be anti-growth, because fundamentally underlines the resilience that the economy seems to have.
Yeah.
But you've been cautioning everybody about don't just focus on today, but worry about tomorrow. So what does tomorrow look like?
Well, so I agree with Larry, but he also is quite concerned about it. So if you have higher for longer, but you've got good growth and inflation is kind of contained, that's good. You just have more fighting for capital and people paying up for capital, and the world needs it. It needs it for remilitarization, the green economy, the IRA Act, the CHIPS Act, huge deficit spending, but we need growth. If you actually have stagflation, that's not so good. So I just say, right now it feels good. That fiscal stimulation was extraordinary. The monetary system was extraordinary. That was a global phenomenon, more in the United States and elsewhere, but that's a little bit of a sugar high. And that's a little bit going to go away, and we're hoping we have a soft landing, but all these other things are there. QT, Ukraine, oil, gas this winter, disruption of trade flows. So, I think good leadership on the part of, America, India, China, Europe can make sure the negatives don't happen. But I'm putting myself in the quite cautious category.
Do you see another rate hike?
I think it's more likely than not, but again, I think people should be prepared for higher oil and gas prices, higher rates, as a matter of just being prepared. You and I can guess what it's going to be. You don't know, I don't know, no one knows, but I think the odds are higher than that, and so, but hopefully we'll get to that. I think the geopolitical situation is the thing that most concerns me, and we don't know the effect of that in the economy. And so but again, I think that the humanitarian part, that's far more important. I think that's also very important for the future of the free democratic world. We may be at an inflection point for the free democratic world. That's how seriously I take it.
So geopolitics, the number one risk that you believe the world is facing today?
Absolutely. We've dealt with inflation before, we've dealt with deficits before, we've dealt with recessions before. We haven't really seen something like this pretty much since World War II.
Yeah, so we don't have a playbook for this just yet.
There is no playbook.
Just a quick follow-up on the inclusion into the bond index, and there's all kinds of estimates on what that could mean in terms of inflows into India. Anywhere between $25 to $40 billion is the estimate over the next year and a half as the inclusion works its way out. Typically, what's been the previous experience of a country being included in the bond index? What are the implications in the medium to long term?
Yeah, so our folks think it'll be about $25 billion. It has to be bought, so it gets bought over time. But I think it's a wonderful thing when you index like that, what it means about your capital markets, your rule of law, your transparency, your government financing. The indirect effect is more important. What you want is capital, foreign direct investment, both in plant and equities and things, innovative companies and stuff like that. So it's just one more very positive sign. There's still globalization. The nations are going to have to, companies and nations are going to be making determinations which change those flows. That creates huge opportunity, I think huge opportunity for India, for services and certain manufacturing, and it creates risks. So I'm hoping that political leaders sit down, have these conversations, and make these changes in a way that's not completely disruptive, but is dwarfed by the risk of war and nuclear proliferation and things like that. So I think we have to be very cautious about it, but it's an opportunity for India, and hopefully you're going to seize it. I also think, by the way, it's affecting global relationships. India and America are natural partners. Now you have to be, you're here, so you're between Russia and China, you have to be kind of non-aligned, but we're your best friend. I mean, anyone who doesn't think that through hasn't thought really carefully.
Well, he is one of the world's most influential bankers. Catch the full interview with JPMorgan's Jamie Dimon at 10 p.m. right here on CNBC-TV18. In other news tonight, Moody's has downgraded the corporate rating of Vedanta Resources due to elevated risks of debt restructuring over the next few months. The company's CFR has been downgraded to CAA2 from CAA1. Additionally, the rating on the senior unsecured bonds issued by Vedanta Resources and its wholly owned subsidiary have also been downgraded. On the other hand, Moody's has upgraded its rating on Tata Steel. It's assigned the firm Baa3. It has changed its stock outlook from positive to stable. Tata Steel CEO TV Narendran told CNBC-TV18 the demand for steel remains strong. He believes that the recently inked agreement with the UK government on the Port Talbot plant will help in changing the company's competitive position in the country. Take a look.
By choosing a new process route which is leveraging the steel scrap which is available in the UK, we are basically changing the competitive position of Tata Steel in UK, and that will make sure that it's a sustainable business, not just from a CO2 point of view, but from a financial point of view.
So how would you see this financial support that is coming from the UK government? How will this play out?
I think it's something which is happening across Europe. If you look at European governments, they are supporting steel industries to make this transition, because honestly, the cash flows of the industry in Europe don't support the transition to be undertaken by the industry by themselves.
Well, that's Tata Steel. Now, JSW Infrastructure's public offering has been fully subscribed on day 2. The retail quota was booked nearly 5 times, and this portion is 10% of the total offer size. Qualified institutional buyers who subscribed a little less than 1 time of the portion reserve, which is 75% of the 2,800 crore rupee issue. Now, the real money gaming industry is staring at a GST nightmare. Reports suggest that the sector could be bombarded with GST tax notices, which could go all the way up to 1 lakh crore rupees. Now, Dream11, India's largest real money gaming company, faces a GST demand of approximately 18,000 crore rupees. That's the number so far that we've been able to ascertain. And this is for not paying 28% GST on the face value of the bets collected. The company has meanwhile filed a writ petition with the Bombay High Court, and Dream11 alleges that the notices are arbitrary.
Purely from the stand of retrospectivity, yes, the companies have a very good case. The law is proposed to be amended. They should definitely approach the High Court, challenge the writ petition, challenge the show cause notices that has been issued. In my mind, they should absolutely go ahead and challenge these notices, because they seem to be prima facie, unconstitutional.
I would only hope that government kind of reconsiders this entire thing, and at least for the past period, comes up with some kind of a clarification or exemption. Law itself will be challenged, because government is seeking to impose 28% on the full amount, the deposit amount, which is collected upfront. Whereas technically one can argue that GST should only be on the fees or the commission that I earn.
Well, the GST nightmare for gaming companies continues, but the dream run for Zerodha continues. Stock trading platform Zerodha has reported stellar earnings for FY23. The largest retail broking firm in the country has seen a 39% surge in its revenue and profits. Shruti standing by now to take us through the numbers. Shruti, as I pointed out, it continues to look very good for Zerodha.
That's right. India's largest retail broking firm, Zerodha, has reported a stellar set of numbers. The platform has reported a 38.5% growth in revenue for the financial year 2022-23 at 6,875 crore rupees compared with the previous financial year. Now, it also reported a 39% growth in profits, which stood at 2,907 crore rupees in FY23. The online trading platform reported a revenue of 4,964 crore rupees and a profit of 2,094 crore rupees in FY22. Now, this profit number is one of the highest for technology startups and more than double that of its nearest competitor and discount broker Angel One, which had reported a consolidated revenue of 3,021 crore rupees for FY23 and a net profit of 1,192 crore rupees. Now, Zerodha has an active client base of around 64 lakh as of August this year. However, the figures have stagnated over the last 18 months, and there is an apprehension that its top line and profit could be flat in the current financial year. One of its competitors and venture capital-backed Grow had crossed 62 lakh active customers in August. Now, despite facing competition from newer discount broking firms, co-founder and CEO Nitin Kamath in a blog post today wrote that the company will continue to charge onboarding and maintenance charges. With that, it's back to you.
All right, thanks very much, Shruti. That was Zerodha. And staying with the startup ecosystem, hospitality chain Oyo is set to report its first ever profit after tax of about 16 crore rupees in the second quarter. This as per an email that's been sent by the company's founder and CEO Ritesh Agarwal to the company's top management. Now, this email accessed by CNBC-TV18. In that, Agarwal says that revenue from operations for the fiscal grew 14% year on year. Oyo has also reduced the number of hotels on its platform by nearly 30%. Well, more exclusives this evening. We've done a good job, but there is a long way to go. That's the word in from Air India's CEO Campbell Wilson as the airline completes 1 year of its 5-year transformation plan. Speaking to me, Campbell said the airline is focusing on lowering costs, boosting revenue by flying more passengers, opening more markets and adding more routes. He also asserted that he's extremely confident about the airline's success and profitability, adding that the airline is on track to achieve 30% market share both in the domestic and international markets. Take a look.
August 2023 will be written down as a life-changing event in Air India's history when the airline unveiled its new brand identity, embracing new colours and a modern design in its logo as well as aircraft livery.
Our aim and job is to make this airline a truly world-class and iconic airline that every Indian will be proud of.
And CEO Campbell Wilson, along with his team, is doing what is needed to achieve the goal and bring the airline back to its past glory. Starting with the $400 million refurbishment of wide-body fleet and a huge 470 aircraft order that it announced in June this year.
So far, so good. Clearly, we've got a long way to go. We're 18 year or so into a 5-year journey, but it's a good start.
Air India returned to its original founders, the Tata Group, in January of 2022. 20 months since, Air India has a combined domestic market share of 26%, which is second after Indigo, that holds a giant share of 64%. Wilson says travellers will soon get to see progress that the airline has made in the last 12 months.
Takeoff requires a takeoff roll. We're halfway through that 12-month phase, so I'd say we're still on the runway, but we're getting close to, in our parlance, V1. We're in the process right now of taking legal delivery of the first A350s, 6 of which we should receive by March or April next year. Next week we should take legal ownership of our first 737s. We're going to be offering one of the fastest paths in the industry, the global industry, from induction to command, from narrow body to wide body. If you're an aviation professional, where else would you want to work? And so we're very fortunate that we do have a lot of people wanting to work for Air India. We think Vistara is a great airline. It's obviously beloved by customers as well. It will continue to operate as Vistara, continue to operate in the way it operates until such time that we feel we've brought Air India up to the level that might allow us to consider a consolidation. But there's no timeline to that. There's certainly no rush to do it.
And you can catch that entire interview with Campbell Wilson, the CEO of Air India, at 9:30 p.m. right here on CNBC-TV18. Now, Niti Aayog will invite technical consultants for a detailed evaluation of India's food and LPG subsidies. Sapna joins us now with the details. Sapna, what will this review look at?
Well, this is completely on the initiative of the Niti Aayog, and the plan here is to hire a technical consultant that will work as a central coordinating agency and will undertake a detailed evaluation of the food and the LPG subsidies. The food subsidy, of course, is run under the National Food Security Act, and for LPG subsidies, you have various schemes, primarily the Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, so to speak. Now, Niti has made certain observations. For example, it says that the nutritional outcomes and food security effectiveness due to NFSA are not really up to the mark. They are low, despite the fact that we have a massive food subsidy of over 4 lakh crore, at least in FY21. Similarly, under LPG subsidy, the DBT and the Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, the consumption of LPG has really gone up as percentage of petroleum products, and hence maybe it's imperative for the government or it's some agency of the government to basically do a detailed evaluation of these reports. It also mentions that probably the deadline for submission of the detailed evaluation reports will be sometime FY25.
Sapna, many thanks for joining us. Now, the Indian government has released its borrowing calendar for the second half of the fiscal. It's estimated that it will borrow 6.55 lakh crore rupees. This includes sovereign green bonds worth 20,000 crores. The government has also said that gross market borrowing will be completed via 20 weekly auctions. And that's not all. 50-year bonds will be issued for the first time as well. So this was expected, and the government announcing its borrowing calendar for the second half. Here's another CNBC-TV18 exclusive. ITC Chairman and Managing Director Sanjiv Puri says the worst of inflation is behind us and that India has managed inflation much better than the rest of the world. Speaking exclusively to CNBC-TV18, Puri added that the company has grown faster than industry and sees some green shoots in the rural sector. Take a look.
As far as we are concerned in terms of the trajectory, I think you've seen in the last few quarters that we've held on the growth rates quite well in the upper quartile, and rural also there are some certainly green shoots of pickup are there definitely.
Well, that is Sanjiv Puri. Up next on India Business Hour, after a 4-decade inning at Ogilvy, one of India's top ad man, Piyush Pandey, will move to an advisory role. Another exclusive interview coming up. And you can catch all of our news and updates on WhatsApp, Facebook, X, Threads, Instagram and JioCinema. You are still with India Business Hour. Now, the U.S. State Department spokesperson has said that they are, and I quote, deeply concerned about the allegations made by Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. While addressing the media, he also added that the U.S. has publicly and privately urged the Indian government to cooperate with the investigation in Canada over the killing of a Sikh separatist. Security has been beefed up in Bengaluru as farmer organizations and pro-Kannada outfits staged a protest over the Kaveri water dispute with Tamil Nadu. Schools and colleges are shut for today. Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah has accused the BJP and opposition parties of politicizing the issue. The Kaveri Water Regulation Committee has directed the state government to release 3,000 cubic meters per second of water daily to Tamil Nadu for the next 15 days. The Supreme Court has pulled up the government for delaying the approval process of the Collegium's recommendations. The court has observed that the Collegium had approved the transfer for 26 High Court judges. However, the process is still pending with the centre. Petitioners have also claimed that the shortlisted candidates are withdrawing their names due to the delays. Now, India has secured its third gold medal at the Asian Games. The equestrian team beat China and Hong Kong to win India's first ever gold in the dressage event. The achievement also marks India's first gold in equestrian sports after 41 years. Actor Waheeda Rehman will be conferred with the Dadasaheb Phalke Lifetime Achievement Award, the highest recognition in Indian cinema. Rehman's illustrious career has spanned over 6 decades. She's best known for films like Pyasa, Guide, Kagaz Ke Phool, among others. She's also the recipient of the Padma Bhushan and the Padma Shri awards. Well, after over 4 decades of an innings at Ogilvy, one of India's top admen, Piyush Pandey, will move to an advisory role at Ogilvy. Along with this announcement, the agency has also announced a new leadership transition. Shibani Garat caught up with Pandey and Ogilvy's global CEO, Devika Bulchandani, to find out more about the road ahead.
You're taking an advisory role going forward starting January 2024. I'm sure you must have spoken to some of the long-standing clients with whom you've had long-standing partnership at Ogilvy for years. How are they reacting to it?
They're quite happy that I'm around somewhere. No, fantastic, because half of them know these people. They've worked with them and they've all responded by saying what a good choice. The response from everyone has been fantastic. The response from our own people yesterday has been superb, as if it was obvious. And by and large, they're happy that I'm not going away to the Himalayas. I'm here, right at Ogilvy.
You've been here for more than 4 decades. And, you know, for somebody who spent so much time in the industry, can you, like, you know, at any point in time, did you feel कि यार बस हो गया अभी नहीं कर सकते? कई बार हमें भी लगता है और हमें तो एक decade ही हुआ है. तो did you feel कि
एक बार लगा था थोड़ा on a difference on a point of view. And then I went home and I said, but why am I thinking of leaving? The other guy should leave. It's my place.
India is one of the fastest growing markets for WPP. What does it mean for Ogilvy?
India is one of our top 5 markets, and it's a growth market for us. It's a market where our creative product is the best. But one thing you all probably know is our creative product is, you know, Ogilvy and Piyush and Heps and Sukesh and Kainaz and Harshad. But we have over 1,000 people in Coimbatore and Hyderabad. That's our tech team, which is our tech delivery team for the rest of the world, where we run campaigns, whether it's on Salesforce and Adobe. So India for us is a Twin Peaks of a growth agenda. So from a creative and perspective that we know, that you're all very familiar with, but also from a tech and enablement perspective.
Oh, what a fabulous innings it has been for Piyush Pandey, who now takes on an advisory role. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of India Business Hour. Thanks very much for watching. The news continues here on CNBC TV 18. Stay tuned.